In
Iraq, Saddam Hussein backs down. The crisis is diffused. In this country, a mass murder at a fast food restaurant. 7 people killed.
This is NBC Nightly News, reported by Garrett Utley.
Good evening. Here's the good news. There is not going to be an armed clash between American forces and Iraq, at least not now. The reason? Once again, Saddam Hussein has backed off from a confrontation he created. It was caused by Saddam's decision to send anti-aircraft missiles into the no-fly zone in southern Iraq, which is being patrolled by U.S. jets. The zone was ordered by the United States and its allies to protect Shiite Muslims living there from Iraqi attack. Tom Aspel is in Baghdad tonight. Fred Francis is at the Pentagon. Fred, let's start with you.
Garrick, tonight, most of Saddam's missiles are north of the 32nd parallel, no longer a threat to Allied planes. In the words of one senior Pentagon official, Saddam ran fast.
Today, General Colin Powell said U.S. planes and satellites watched Saddam race to make the UN deadline.
So we've been able to take a good look at what they've done, and they're in compliance.
American pilots in the Persian Gulf will continue to fly patrols over the no-fly zone and not just looking for Iraqi aircraft. Powell told NBC News the next time Saddam moves missiles into the region, there will be no warning of 48 hours. The U.S. will attack. Clinton's nominee for Secretary of Defense, Les Aspin, agrees with the be tough on Saddam policy. He was at the Pentagon today meeting with Powell and to receive briefings.
So there will be continuity between this administration and the next one. Garrick?
Fred, what do U.S. military officials there at the Pentagon think Saddam might do next? What are they preparing for?
Well, hidden in the démarche, the diplomatic warning given to Saddam was also a warning not to do anything in the north to the Kurds. The strategy they think Saddam is employing now is one that he has no choice. They look at it from Saddam's point of view. They say Saddam doesn't have a northern part of his country, doesn't have a south, is boxed in politically, economically, and diplomatically, so that he has to keep pushing the envelope. He has to keep testing, and they expect him to do it, but next time they're going to attack quickly.
All right, Fred Francis of the Pentagon, thank you. Now let's move on to Tom Aspel, who's in Baghdad, where the Iraqis have not acknowledged that they have backed off in this latest confrontation. Tom?
Garrick, Iraq has gained nothing from this confrontation. Usually, Saddam Hussein has at least given credit for saving his people from attack, but this time, even the rhetoric has been low-key.
Iraq's Council of Ministers discussed the missile crisis in a meeting today, but stopped short of admitting that Iraq backed down at the last minute. The ministers repeated that Iraq maintains the right to deploy defensive weapons anywhere inside its own territory, and accused the United States of fabricating the missile crisis. At no point did the Council say the missiles have been deactivated or that they have been redeployed outside the no-fly zone. On the streets, there wasn't much concern that the crisis would ever escalate into an attack from the West, none of the usual talk about honor or sovereign integrity. It's been 2.5 years since economic sanctions isolated and then impoverished this country. There's no work and no money, and very little optimism that things will get better anytime soon. Iraqis have to read between the lines of rhetoric here to get any sense of what's going on. Only the newspaper of the armed forces still says it's better for Iraqis to die rather than submit to what it calls humiliating ultimatums from the West. The rest of the media here gives the impression that Saddam Hussein will choose the time and place for Iraq's battle against the West, but that it's not right now.
Iraq had nothing to gain by provoking the United States again. The whole episode may have been little more than a ploy to keep people's minds off mounting hardships here. Garrick?
Thanks, Tom. The missile crisis is only the latest in a whole series of confrontations with Saddam Hussein since the Gulf War. The pattern is the same. He tests the United States and the UN and then backs down. In September 1991, Iraqi troops held a UN inspection team in a Baghdad parking lot for a week, but then allowed the inspectors to take away evidence of a nuclear arms program. Last July, UN arms inspectors demanded access to an Iraqi government building. For 3 weeks, a defiant Saddam refused. The Allies threatened military action, and Saddam gave in. In August, the UN, citing the harsh repression of Iraq's Shiite Muslims, imposed the no-fly zone. 2 weeks ago, a US F-16 shot down an Iraqi MiG that penetrated that zone. And no doubt there will be further confrontations with Iraq. Why does Saddam Hussein create them? Let's talk now with a former U.S. diplomat in the Persian Gulf. Marshall Wiley is in Washington this evening. Ambassador, we know that Saddam's in a terrible economic situation, yet he keeps coming back. Why?
I think because he feels that the conditions that have been laid upon Iraq by the UN, backed by the United States, are intolerable in the long run for any sovereign nation. And I think he's also concerned about the buildup in power in his natural enemy, that's Iran, on his flank. So I think he will continue to test all of the measures that we take against him. And I think this does create a problem for us because there really are two potential problems there in the Middle East that could threaten our interests. One is Iraq and the other is Iran, and we really need a single unified Iraq in order to offset Iran in that part of the world.
But do you really think that Saddam Hussein thinks that the UN and the U.S. are going to ease up on these sanctions against him? You've met the man. You've met him in meetings before the Gulf War.
I think he feels that in the long run he can gradually recover some of the territory he's lost if he is to remain a sovereign state. And I think that there is enough support for his remaining as a unified sovereign state in the international community and even in the U.S. government, who doesn't want to see Iraq fall apart.
Do you think he's going to test Bill Clinton once Clinton is president, the way he's tested Bush?
I suspect that he will continue to test whatever president we have here. He may feel that Clinton, being a new man in the job, would not have the legacy of personal hostility towards Saddam that Bush has developed over the last couple of years in his experiences.
All right, Marshall Wiley, thank you for joining us this evening.
You're welcome.
Iraq, the Middle East, Russia, Yugoslavia. These are not the problems Bill Clinton wants at the top of his agenda when he takes office in just 11 days. But from Somalia to Sarajevo, he is going to have to be a foreign policy president, too, from his first day in office. Here's Tom Pettit.
The Deputy Prime Minister of Bosnia was buried today in Sarajevo, assassinated while under UN protection. Then Bosnia pulled out of the peace talks. Bosnia is crying for help. This could be Clinton's first big test. George Kenney, a policy analyst for the Carnegie Endowment for Peace, wants Clinton to take a hard line.
We should arm the Bosnians. We should use Western air forces to get rid of Serbian heavy artillery positions and other military forces in Bosnia.
I think he needs to sit down with the Allies early on and hammer out a joint platform of what the West is going to do.
In this hemisphere, Clinton faces the Haitian refugee question. Whether to continue intercepting them, to expand refugee centers, or to use heavy pressure to restore democracy in Haiti.
It's basically a bunch of thugs with guns that have taken over. And I think that with sufficient pressure, they will crack.
In the Middle East, Clinton faces the possibility that the Palestinian-Israeli peace negotiations will fall apart.
I think these parties are quite capable of screwing up their best opportunity in a generation without sustained American leadership. I feel that very strongly. What Baker and Bush did in the Middle East is really unprecedented, and it needs to be continued.
Russia needs continued U.S. support, in money and otherwise. But Mr. Clinton is in no hurry for a summit with Yeltsin.
He'll need some time. He's got to get himself in office. He's got to get his cabinet functioning. He's got to deal with some domestic issues. But Russia is not going to be forgotten. It isn't going to be on the back burner. It will always be on the front burner.
Just 2 years ago, Mikhail Gorbachev said the Soviet Union was descending into chaos and disintegration. Today, that is the world facing Mr. Clinton. Tom Pettit, NBC News, Washington.
And as we cover our world this Saturday, we'll go next to Illinois and mass murder in a fast food restaurant. Also on Focus this evening, we look at one proposal for better and cheaper health insurance coverage. Managed competition. How would it work?
Now at Red Lobster, our classic event, Lobster Fest. Classic feasts with grilled lobster, rock lobster, and more. Lobster Fest, now at Red Lobster.
Red Lobster's perfect for lunch. Now with our $4.99 special. Golden fried shrimp and grilled chicken breast. Plus potato and salad, just $4.99.
So hurry
to Red Lobster for lunch every day. Sunday, too.
Why make a whole pot at the office? Try Folgers Coffee Singles. Made with ground roast coffee and its own filter for one freshly brewed cup. Folgers Coffee Singles, the ultimate one-cup coffee machine.
Got a sweet spot, hit it with a sweet shot.
shot, wheat is honey gold. That's the stuff. Crispy corn, whole grain wheat. It's just hot, crunchy and sweet. Go for it. Wheat is honey gold.
Now Somalia. This past week, the American role there entered a new phase as troops used force to seize stockpiles of weapons. Today, they did it again. What is it leading to? In Mogadishu, here's Dennis Murphy.
Today, the U.S. Marines seized another weapons compound here. In bombed-out buildings, one of the Somali warlords kept his artillery pieces, only a few of them still working. The guards in the compound surrendered without a fight, as the Marines went building to building looking for light arms and ammunition. These are the Badlands of Mogadishu, and the U.S. military is the new gun on the street.
This may be Dodge City, but why it's in town.
But Dodge City was never as wild as Mogadishu. Only 3 weeks ago, gunmen with Russian AK-47 assault rifles owned the town. With a $250 gun, you could hold up a truckload of food, and bags of stolen beans were money. Armed robbery was Somalia's only commerce for 2 years. Now the gunmen know the Marines will take their AK-47 if they find it.
There's abundance of weapons here. Some of them may have been tucked under the floorboards or in the closet, but they're still around.
Confiscated rifles are broken apart. This AK-47 was taken from a 12-year-old.
I would think it would be tremendously difficult
to disarm this
to disarm the country simply because their belief probably is that they have the right to bear arms, and it'd be somewhat like trying to disarm the United States or some states of the United States.
The Marines blew up the heavy guns they took today. And tonight, gunfire in the darkness a mile from the Marines' compound, an LA-style drive-by shooting. The U.S. military is now a police force fighting a gang war. The Marines are grumbling. They want out of Dodge City before they become an occupational army. Dennis Murphy, NBC News, Mogadishu.
The American troops are in the southern part of Somalia, and there is this news from the north of that country today. The UN officials there are reporting that 5 women accused of adultery were stoned to death. Stoned to death. It happened, according to the officials, after Muslim prayer services yesterday, Friday. It's a sign of growing Islamic fundamentalism in that part of the country. The UN officials on the scene were prevented from helping the women who were killed by being buried under a pile of stones. Now we go to news in this country, in Illinois. It was more than a murder. It was in a fast food restaurant. It was when the toll was finally added up, 7 murders today. It happened actually in the early morning hours after the restaurant in Palatine, Illinois had closed. The victims were mostly high school students who worked there at night. 6 males, 1 female are dead. Here's Phil Walters.
High school youngsters working at this suburban Chicago Brown's Chicken restaurant didn't show up at home after the 9 o'clock closing last night. By midnight, relatives started worrying. One called police. A door to the restaurant was open. Inside, 7 bodies.
Oh, they don't tell us anything. We don't know if he's alive or dead or nothing.
The victims were found in the kitchen area, some in a walk-in cooler, reportedly shot, reportedly some bodies on top of others. But police will say only it is a complex case. Among those killed are believed to be the 2 owners, 2 high school students, one of them in a school work apprenticeship program, and the cook. Jason Georgie works there, but had his first Friday night off in 2 months.
Usually after it's closed, about 10 minutes after, they start taking the money out of the registers and counting it down to put into the safe.
And how much money could be in there?
In the safe, about $3,000.
Police refuse to speculate on a motive. Phil Walters, NBC News, Palatine, Illinois.
And from that sad news in Illinois, let's turn to India. For those who don't believe in miracles, this may change some minds. The crash of a domestic flight as it was landing this morning in New Delhi. 161 people were on the plane when it tried to land in heavy fog. This is the scene there. It flipped over, the tail and 1 wing were torn off, and the aircraft burst into flames and burned. The death toll, 0. 6 people were hospitalized for injuries.
Because no other pain is like your headache pain.
What the hell, where it hurts?
Now there's new aspirin-free Bayer Select for headaches.
What the hell, where it hurts? With Bayer Select.
It contains 2 powerful aspirin-free ingredients and helps relieve pounding headache pain. So reach for new Bayer Select, the one for headaches, because all pain is not the same.
What the hell, where it hurts? With Bayer Select.
To get rid of her gray, my wife can spend 40 minutes. But I discovered the 5-minute hair coloring.
The revolutionary discovery called Just for Men from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men and in 5 minutes shampoo out.
Gray is blended away. The look of my natural color is back in 5 minutes. That was me, and it won't fade or wash out.
My hair takes forever, but you look great in just 5 minutes.
The look of your natural color in just 5 minutes with Just for Men.
To help relieve her heartburn, regular Rolaids uses an aluminum salt, but his antacid is Tums, and Tums has calcium.
Something my body needs anyway. I like that.
Tums.
There's an ingredient in Efferdent you may not expect. Antibacterial Efferdent, made with Arm & Hammer baking soda. Leaves dentures baking soda fresh and clean.
On Focus this evening, a major challenge facing our society in the new Clinton administration. How to improve the health care system while controlling costs. Jeff Madrick is with us. Jeff, there are a number of proposals that have been made to really clean up this mess. One is called managed competition. It's getting the support of the Clinton people. What is it?
A lot of people, Garrick. Managed competition is growing in popularity among healthcare professionals. It's an approach which involves free market competition, but with government supervision.
It's hurting you now.
If managed competition does catch on, most Americans may be getting medical treatment, much the way Bernice Sledge does now. Sledge's employer pays for her membership in a health maintenance organization. She has to use the HMO's doctors and its hospitals, and if she wants to get treatment someplace else, she has to pay for it out of her own pocket. But she is entitled to a wide range of services, including all conventional diagnostic procedures, eye exams, and even immunizations for no charge.
Never had any problem. The only inconvenience here is transportation. Getting here. If you don't drive, then it's really inconvenient.
Managed care programs like HMOs are typically cheaper than traditional health plans, and managed competition is designed to get healthcare organizations to adopt the most efficient practices. At a Washington conference this week, attended by several Clinton transition advisors, advocates of managed competition say the way to do that is to force healthcare organizations to compete for the consumer's business. They say regional boards should be established by government. The boards would set minimum standards and provide clear information to consumers. And they would continuously monitor the practices of the healthcare organizations. Businesses, in turn, would be required to join the program and fund a large part of the cost. Some experts say consumers would then have a clear choice among several different plans that offer a variety of services. Alan Enthoven, a Stanford professor, is the main proponent of managed competition.
The healthcare organization that does the best job of improving quality, giving good service, and holding down costs is going to attract the business. More people are going to join them every year. And the health plans that do the worst job are going to lose business.
Shumat Ganguly found a new HMO after becoming dissatisfied with his old one.
I didn't find the physicians terribly attentive. They were extraordinarily pressed by the sheer array of patients and number of patients they'd had to see. And I didn't find that they were particularly attentive to my particular needs.
Well, not everyone believes that even managed competition will succeed in cutting costs, but it is the approach the President-elect Clinton's advisors favor, and Garrick will be hearing a lot more about managed competition in the coming weeks.
But, big question, what happens to 35, 36 million Americans who don't have any coverage at all? Does this cover them?
Managed competition is not literally and directly designed for them. They would have to be subsidized by the federal government. Hopefully, managed competition will get costs down enough so that covering those 40 million or so will be more affordable.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
Thanks, Jeff. And we'll be back with more news as we continue.
Okay, bring your noses up to the TV and I'll show you that Folgers Crystals has more ground roast aroma than ever. Well, this is what you've been using. Sniff. Nice, huh? Now, take a whiff of the latest. Come on, there's enough aroma for everybody. Hey! Oh! Folgers Crystals, made with mountain-grown beans, fresh brewed and crystallized. Folgers Crystals, with more aroma than ever. Aroma so rich, you can taste it.
Look what's popping up at Free. Special K waffles from Eggo. Once you see how good fat-free can be, oh no, you never let go.
No way. It's all mine.
Special K waffles from Eggo.
Eggo Special K waffles. Crisp, delicious, yet every bite fat-free, cholesterol-free, and just 80 calories per waffle. See how good fat-free can be.
Oh no, you never let go. Nah. Special K waffles from Eggo.
I try to ignore my sensitive teeth, but they hurt.
Sensodyne helps stop the pain that can make you stop brushing, could lead even to tooth loss. And now, Sensodyne has fluoride.
Fluoride, great.
New Sensodyne helps stop the pain of sensitive teeth.
It's the cheesiest! White Cheddarland!
Introducing our newest, cheesiest, Kraft Mild White Cheddar Macaroni and Cheese.
Join me for lunch, Super Son.
Kraft cheese and macaroni, now in mild white cheddar.
I found if you feed a lot of meat, and a good kind of meat like pedigree, you really get a nice shine to the coat.
John Woodring, top breeder of champion beagles.
A dog that's really fit, that's had really good nutrition, is definitely happier and makes a better pet. I only want my dogs to have the best food, and the best food we've found is pedigree and pedigree mealtime. I really like the pedigree meat mixed with the mealtime drying. I'd recommend pedigree to anybody who owns a dog, either a pet or a show dog.
Pedigree, developed with vets, recommended by top breeders.
And time now to look at some of the stories that made news this past week. A big oil spill as a tanker ran aground on the coast of the Shetland Islands. High winds are still preventing salvage crews from getting on board. Fishing has been banned in a 300-square-mile area. In Washington State, child murderer Wesley Allen Dodd was executed the way he wanted to be, by hanging. A medical examiner said any pain was brief. A family lucky to be alive. Jim and Jennifer Stope and their baby were trapped for a week by a blizzard in the Sierras. After getting lost, they hid in a cave. Then Jim walked for 22 hours through deep snow to get help.
He is more than a hero to me.
A government report officially classified secondhand cigarette smoke as a serious cancer threat. It said the smoke causes more than 3,000 deaths a year. And two women, new senators Dianne Feinstein and Carol Moseley Braun, were named to the Senate Judiciary Committee, the all-male panel which conducted the Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill hearings. And President Bush was at West Point this week, a veteran of World War II, speaking to those who will face the conflicts and wars of the future. For the cadets, time to figure out the future and their role in it, in a world that's changed so much. Here's Sarah James.
It is America's oldest military academy. West Point drills today's cadets to be tomorrow's battlefield brass. But for the class of '93 and their commander-in-chief, the battlefield's changed over the course of an explosive 4 years.
The military situation I had pictured in '89 would be a total war, possibly a nuclear conflict. But, I mean, the Berlin Wall came down when we were freshmen here in '89, and from then on, I think everyone here knew that it wouldn't be the same anymore.
Yes, the end of the Cold War, we would all concede, is a blessing. It is a time of great promise. But this does not mean that there is no specter of war, no threats to be reckoned with.
We were trained in Soviet weapons, Soviet tactics, and now it's changed. In fact, we had lectures last night for the upper class, and it's talking about peacekeeping operations, humanitarian operations.
Who will ever forget the young Marine, eyes filled with tears, holding the fragile arm of an emaciated child?
That was in Somalia. Cadets say they're prepared for such missions far away or close to home.
We're trained to fight enemies, but we're also trained to take care of people.
There may be a new world order, but at West Point, some things never change. These military formations are virtually the same as they were 190 years ago. And cadets say, like those formations, their training endures. They say the most important skill they learn isn't tactical training, but leadership.
You are beginning your service to country, and I'm nearing the end of mine.
At the end of the Cold War, a passing of the torch. Sarah James, NBC News, West Point.
And I'll be back in a moment with some final thoughts about parents and children and schools.
Yesterday, I faltered. I couldn't resist these new cookies.
Fat.
Snackwell's Doubles food. So chocolatey, so rich. I ruined everything, and I enjoyed it.
Snackwell's. Wait, these Snackwells don't have any fat?
They don't?
They don't?
New Snackwells from Nabisco. Cookies and crackers with less fat. Hey, nibble a little.
I shampoo for dandruff, but my scalp still itches.
Now there's Scalpicin for deep scalp itch, not ordinary dandruff. It's clear liquid, not shampoo. With itch medicine doctors chose over these dandruff shampoo formulas.
The itch is gone.
Scalpicin.
When I get a cold, I see a doctor. I'm married to one. My wife recommends Dimetap Extend Tabs.
Doctors have recommended the Dimetap brand over 200 million times. Adult strength Extend Tabs relieve your cold symptoms for 12 hours with one of the least sedating non-prescription antihistamines.
My wife is a doctor, so I can really trust what she tells me.
Doctors recommend Dimetap for their families and yours. For 4-hour cold relief, try new Dimetap liquid gels.
Got a sweet spot. Hit it with a sweet shot. Wheaties honey gold.
That's the stuff.
Crispy corn, whole grain wheat. It's just hot, crunchy and sweet. Go for it. Wheaties honey gold.
Which do you think will put potassium into your body faster? The banana or the California prune? Go. Sweet, delicious California prunes. Find out how good they really are.
And finally this evening, it's a familiar decision for a couple moving on to a new job in a new town. What school do you put your child in? Bill and Hillary Clinton said this past week that putting their daughter Chelsea in a private school in Washington, D.C. was a parental decision, not a presidential one. Can the two be separated? As governor, Clinton took pride in efforts to improve education in Arkansas, where Chelsea did go to public schools. Critics say now that he and his wife should have done the same thing in the nation's capital as a symbol of the new president's commitment to public education. The outgoing Secretary of Education called their decision hypocritical. Well, the fact is, 12-year-olds are not meant to be symbols of anything, unless it's the difficulties of approaching adolescence. Still, there's no doubt that had Chelsea gone to a public school, the urgent need to improve education would have moved up on Bill Clinton's personal as well as presidential agendas. But now the parental decision has been made. The public can make its judgment. And then perhaps we should all just drop the subject and let a 12-year-old who's leaving friends behind to move into a big house in a strange city get on with life, with becoming a teenager. And that's our look at our world this Saturday. I'm Garrick Utley. Good night for NBC News.
Tonight, it's 2 hours of Empty Nest and Nurses. First at 8, 7 Central, it's Empty Nest.
I slept with Charlie.
Paired with a classic Nurses.
Nice fit.
Plus at 9, 8 Central, another all-new breathtaking Empty Nest. Followed by a sexy new Nurses. 2 hours of Empty Nest and Nurses starting at 8, 7 Central, NBC Tonight.
Next week.